problem solving. So let's take a look at some things we need to keep in mind. We need to read the problem more than once to make sure we understand it. We need to circle what's important. We need to underline the question. We need to visualize the situation so we understand the problem. Ask ourselves, what is actually being divided? And finally, we must remember that the commutative property does not work for division. So you must set up the equation correctly. All right, write and solve an equation. Number 9, to tie-dye one t-shirt, 3/8 cup of dye is needed. The table shows the number of cups of each color of dye in Mr. Galvis's art class. How many t-shirts can be made using only orange dye? Okay, I just read it once. I'm going to look back at the information and pick out what's important. To tie-dye one t-shirt, you need 3/8 cup of dye. That's important. The table shows the number of cups of each color of dye in Mr. Galvis's art class. So I'm going to have to refer to this chart here. And I see he has red and orange. And what color do I need to look at? The question is, how many t-shirts can be made using only orange dye? So there's part of what I have to find, the orange dye. So Mr. Galvis has 3/4 cup of orange dye. He wants to use that to make as many t-shirts as he can. Each t-shirt takes 3/8 cup of dye. So that means I have to take this 3/4 cup. I'm going to imagine that's a cup with some dye in it. And I'm going to have to distribute it equally for each t-shirt. And I know each t-shirt would make 3/8 cups. So I have to figure out how many possible t-shirts he can make after he pours out this dye. So if I set up the equation, I have to think, what is actually being divided up? It is that 3/4 cup of orange dye. And it has to be divided into 3/8 cups or sections. Okay, so this is my equation. Let's remember how to do this. I keep the first number, which is the dividend, the same. Change division to multiplication and find the reciprocal of 3/8. Find the reciprocal of the divisor. So I flip that over. That's the reciprocal. All right, I'm looking at this. I can cross cancel to make things easier. The 3's become a 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So 2 over 1 is the same as 2. So it looks like he can make 2 t-shirts with his 3/4 cup of dye. Had I have done that the opposite way, I would have gotten the wrong answer. I would have actually gotten 1/2 of a t-shirt. And really, if I think about it, I don't know if that makes too much sense. All right, reason abstractly, number 10. Carlotta has 3/4 ton of mulch. She's going to divide evenly among 5 flower beds. How much mulch will each flower bed contain? So I read the problem. I'm going to pick out what's important. So she has 3 tons of mulch. That's a lot of tons, or that's a lot of weight. We know 1 ton's 2,000 pounds, so it's almost 2,000 pounds. And we know she's going to divide it evenly among 5 flower beds. My question is, how much mulch will each flower bed contain? So I am visualizing this big bag of mulch. And I am thinking there's 3/4 ton in there. That mulch has to be poured out into how many flower beds? Into 5. So if this were a flower bed, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have to figure out how much mulch is going to go in each of those. Whoops, I have my arrow going here. Okay, so it looks like my 3/4 is going to be divided into those 5 beds. I have to remember to put a 1 under a whole number right away so I don't forget. All right, so 3/4, change division to multiplication, find the reciprocal of 5, which is 1/5, and it looks like I can't cross cancel. So I get 3 20ths. So each of these garden beds will have 3/20ths tons of mulch. All right, let's look at the next page where you will have to answer 3 problems on your own. So let me get to the next page here. Okay, I have 3 problems written here for you. Why don't you stop the video, write down the problems on a separate sheet of paper, set up an equation so it is set up correctly, and go ahead and solve it. And we'll talk about these problems in the morning. Have a great night, Sugar Gliders.